Hello, Chris here.
Nothing.
Like put that one right here. And then put it maybe like between you and here. Okay. Like one more. I can go towards the- Right.
Chris, can you hear us now?
Tommy, can you hear me?
Chris.
We plug it in.
Can you?
All right, you can hear us. Thumbs up.
Okay, great.
All right.
Okay, so the first order is to adopt the agenda.
I move that we adopt the agenda as presented by Arlene.
I second it.
All in favor?
Favor? Thank you. And the minutes, I move to adopt the.
Oh.
Yes, somebody else.
I move to adopt the minutes.
I'll second that.
Hey, everybody in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, Chris has a thumbs up over there.
Okay, that's good. I don't know if you can vote.
Unanimous.
No, yes, you can. If you have a quorum in the room,
Oh,
Okay, good.
Okay.
Good.
So then, anyway, any announcements?
Yes, my announcement is that I have been privileged to serve the WEC for some time now. And this is my last meeting, I'm sorry to say. But it's been wonderful. And thank you, everyone in this room for what you do, really. And I hope to serve the environment in other ways.
Can I ask you a serious question?
Yeah, sure.
Are you leaving us for your 3 new cats?
Yes, you got it.
and leaving you for your mom.
I have 3 new cats.
She has 3
Oh.
kids. Yeah,
One, two,
right.
and three.
We've been
She has
replaced.
I know.
Yeah,
Toddlers.
they
I'm
are. They're
dying
little
to
guys.
see them.
They're little guys, yeah.
Three toddlers. Well, listen, you'll be truly.
It's an old-
You will be
missed.
sorely
And,
missed. I know you've really,
You might
done a
get
lot.
a tree.
So we hope to
Isn't that
work.
what they do? Don't
Julia.
they like plant
If he
trees for
passes
people?
away.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah,
No, we don't want that.
that'll be soon, but
Not too soon.
No tree for you, sorry.
So Julia, even though you're not on the commission, we hope that we'll be working with you.
I hope to work with
All
all
right,
of you.
at least
Yeah,
attending all of our fun functions.
absolutely.
And every meeting.
Yeah.
You can
Well,
come.
Even our not fun ones.
Yeah.
There's never one that's boring though, that's for sure.
Anybody else at the table have any announcements?
Oh, I have one from Erin. I have been driving all over town and seeing repair cafe signs.
Yeah, they do it sometimes and they don't, and that's okay, yes.
But is there a day and I would like to go to the, do you know when it is and any?
I think
it's Saturday.
This weekend
Yeah, I don't
at the
know.
temple.
Oh,
Saturday,
Yeah.
10 to 2.
Oh, I saw the little WEC logo.
Oh, you're kidding?
No, and I know she usually organizes them with you.
Oh, wow, yeah, no, I learned the same way from the
Oh,
signs,
okay.
so I should actually just reach out to her. So just so you guys all know, in case I get hit by a bus tonight. So when Carolyn puts that WEC logo on there, we can use the Repair Cafe for Climate Smart points as an option.
Oh.
Excellent.
Because we collaborated,
Cool.
so,
That's great.
so that's why and also because she puts the WEC thing there, the town lets her like use town space. So it's a symbiotic.
Yeah, sorry, I wasn't tattling.
I was just gonna say, I'm secretary tonight. If anybody wants to take over that role, I'm all ears, or at the very least, alternate with me. So you can
Somebody
think about
that has not done it
I've done it.
I know.
shortly.
I don't actually know that you need to record minutes of the meeting when it's recorded on Zoom.
Is that right?
Oh, no, I think we
I don't know about that.
I think that you may not have to. I was reading some of the open meetings laws recently, and I think that if there's a recorded shared with the public.
But then to approve the minutes, you
record
have
that-
to all watch the
That
recording.
you may not have to have minutes, but we can look into it further.
But it's a good thing to know what happened and what you're saying you're gonna
Exactly.
do.
It's,
and,
it's,
you know,
it's
what's
nice
your
to
to-do
have
list,
it.
you know?
I
I
agree.
think it's
Yeah.
important because you don't want to have to listen to an hour and a half recording to find out what the key points were.
No, I just,
So,
it's
Just
some-
legally, just from your
Right.
legal perspective.
From a legal
So-
perspective.
Out of this group, I know that Julia, Aaron for a short period of time, myself, and Bob have now been secretaries.
Uh-oh.
So that
Alternate weeks
means
with
I'm the
you.
vice chair, so I'm not secretary too.
I'll do it for my $15 an hour.
You will.
Is
Well,
that the rate? I thought it was
It per the
The
town
last
law,
one,
the
she's not good,
secretary
she-
should be getting paid.
I think Chris is saying something.
Yes, Chris?
No, I'm good. I do agree that we should have minutes that are collected, during the meetings.
Yeah, we all agree with that. That's.
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, thank you. So I think think it over, the other two in the
Okay.
room, and we can.
We need a new member, so that's a good thing to.
Yeah, sure.
But
Hop on
it's
that.
also-
I mean, we could do it on a rotating basis.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
just, I'm
I'd be
just
willing to
saying,
do it once and again,
Yeah, me too.
like
I'm
every,
not good at
every
it.
like
but I'll do
February
it.
29th, I can do it.
so every, okay,
And leave here.
so Erin, are you volunteering?
I'll do a rotation.
I'll do the fourth Wednesday of the month.
That's very funny. Since we're not here on the.
Okay,
board.
so Erin and Bob will work it out between them.
Yeah, that's fine.
You're good for tonight?
Yeah, I'm good.
Great, that's good. Wow, big changes.
I know.
Exciting. So as far as updates, we have a short list, but the first one is Earth Day. Everybody can input on what they.
I thought it was great.
Yeah, congratulations, everybody.
Yeah, everyone, thanks,
Good job,
everyone.
Erin.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
It was a, team
So
effort.
I had asked to have this on the agenda because I think it's important to know what went specifically, what went well, and what could be done differently next year so that we can put it in the minutes,
Yes,
so that we can then reference that next year.
Okay.
So
absolutely.
maybe we could do a go around of things that went specifically well.
Or actually, it's also really important, things that didn't go well, because that's how we learn.
Yeah, so let's start. with
Don't,
what
nobody's
went well.
nobody's gonna get offended.
Julia, why don't you start? Because you can really lay into it, because like.
Well, I just think, stepped up and you have been shepherding this thing, and that's a hell of a lot of work, and you take on so much of it on your own. It's just
I am a
amazing.
control freak,
Okay, well,
Okay.
but I hope I don't.
mean, when I
micromanage
first
it.
joined this, it was definitely a community effort, and
Yeah.
you've taken on so much of it on your own. One disappointment for me was that this was the first year that we got the Woodstock Library to partner with us. And that poor woman, she came and she laid out 30 sets of everything. I went in there and she was sitting there with her 2 kids.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I walked back.
Oh,
I was,
in the back. you mean.
Yeah.
We just, but
So
we tried to get kids, but it just didn't happen.
So
you
what
know?
could we have done different? Like, I know we had signs, but maybe the signs weren't prominent. Maybe
There
we
were
should have.
were there kids there?
Well,
And
no,
if there
there's
were,
something
they were
that-
in the front, they
They-
just.
They
didn't happen.
announced it to every Ontario school. I mean,
Right.
it was in,
Yeah, this year was the most, I feel like this year, more kids heard about it than
Yeah,
any other year
right.
that we've done it. But, I think last year there was that baseball game
Yeah, there
that was right there, and then a lot of
Right,
kids came
right.
afterwards because they were already there.
Yeah.
So that's what I was thinking, that it should be coordinated with other town events. Because like if the town cleanup for kids, there were some kids.
There
doing
was the
some-
youth center that we.
Yeah, so I'm thinking that one change would be to coordinate with kid-centered. But before we do that, I'm thinking we really need to clarify goals, because I was really, as a newcomer to this, I was so impressed with how much I learned that day about what the opportunities are in our community, all the different perspectives on how to solve the problems that we face. And so I think as an adult, I was really impressed. And I almost feel like in order to make it kid friendly, you'd have to say that from this hour is the kid hour. Because
Yeah.
they're not going to come from 10 to 2 and hear Michelle Hinchy
Right.
with their little kids.
Right.
But if we said during that hour, because Roberta, the arts and crafts person, she's phenomenal. I don't think she
She is
got one kid.
phenomenal. I mean,
I don't think
did
any
any of you,
kids.
I saw, I took away one of the wonderful little, with birch bark,
She's
she
making
makes these little.
birds. Yeah, so, but if
Beautiful.
we said crafts, eco crafts for kids, story time for kids, face painting for kids, you know, and during from 2 to 3 is kid time. And we coordinate it with something else happening in town, I think we would see a difference.
When you say coordinate with something else happening in town, what does that mean? Or you
So,
mean
you know, like
a feeder event or something? Or-
something that where the kids are doing service for the earth, because if you did like kids planting, because if kids, I've
They
seen,
don't forget those things, by the way, when they do them. It's amazing.
Activity.
We did Earth Day when I was at work and the kids brought back, they planted that were this big and they're now 16 feet tall. And
Wow.
every time they walk by those, you planted those.
isn't that so
Yeah.
great?
You know,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, but
it's-
things like that, or, you know, cleaning the streets or whatever,
exactly.
but
We
at
have
the
to clean up Woodstock.
simultaneous to whenever the kids' hour is, but I would focus it in.
May
I
may I say something about Earth Day that's a little off this topic, but related to this topic?
No.
So Erin, I think you do such a good job with Earth Day, and I know
Yeah.
you work really hard on it. And so this has nothing to do with you. Earth Day in general, I hate, and I don't mean the holiday, I mean the way that we do. The last thing I want to do as a mom with 2 kids is be in a community center, going from table to table, talking to
Yes.
the plastic people and
That's what we're
the
talking
streams
about.
people.
Yeah.
It's just miserable. I dread it every
Yes.
year, and that is why I love to have Erin handle it. And what I wonder is there something else that we could do that's not even that at all, that would be maybe like something really interesting for adults that maybe gets deep into like one thing, like a really interesting learning thing, and
An
something
activity or
for
something.
kids.
And
You know, that
something
they
that's
can really
current.
go and do, it's just so
Are you
grim and
saying on it-
depressing.
At the same, like, could we use the kids, what is that called?
The youth center.
The
Youth
thank you.
center?
That thing, that other building. Could we use the youth center and have a simultaneous event for kids in the youth center?
I don't see why we couldn't. I mean, Patrick
We
is
could set up, we have to
extremely
have-
flexible.
Yeah.
Just
Right.
like, what if it wasn't in that part of town at all?
Like where
I don't know, like, what if it was like
your house?
going out and walking around doing
Yeah.
something, or being here outside, or like at the, you know,
Oh.
a stream walk, or, you know, when they do that bio blitz,
Get
that's
kids
so
to, the
cool,
idea
like,
is to get kids to fall in love with the
you know,
earth, 'cause
something
that's the
like
only way they're
that.
gonna wanna protect it.
and then
is
even if it's like someone who can talk to the adults and really get complicated,
actually-
and someone who can talk to the kids and make it fun, and everyone walks around.
Somebody
I
like
don't know.
Vern Wrist who takes them around.
Hey.
Oh, Vern, this is
Wow,
Oh,
seriously, what
yeah.
would your kids want?
Yeah.
That's
Seriously.
right.
They like to be outside. They like to be dirty. They like to be able to yell. They like to be with other kids running around. You know, they would love to be like in a stream throwing a rock and, you know, yelling or something like that. They like dirt.
It gets back to why are we doing it?
Right.
Well, there
What
is,
is our goal?
there
What
is,
are our
there
goals?
is a
What do we-
purpose.
We have to, and I think it has to be tied into what's happening with the environment today.
Yes.
And I think also what's happening in the environment here.
Yeah.
Because we have so many new people in this town that didn't come
Right.
in their 30s and 40s, that we need to take ownership of this place, because if they don't take ownership, we don't have a town, really. I mean, if they're here just to play and put their little fences up, then we don't have a community anymore. That's what we have to work at, is that everybody takes ownership of this community. And we have to find a way to do that. We don't do that now, but I think that what you're all saying makes a lot of sense. A spectacular activity for the adults where we might even have people that volunteer with the kids that are adults, so that maybe the parents could go one place and the kids could go somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean, it would be easier to coordinate if we use the 2 buildings next door, because as you said, the weather's usually not good that early in the year.
Yeah.
Where they
But like
usually-
Birds of Prey, for example, Kingston had the same thing, it's like 3 birds of
Yeah, a
prey.
lot of them.
And they must have had 70 kids there.
Really?
So I think if we had the Birds of Prey and the activities all focused, kids come to the youth center, and then we begin to bridge the needs for the youth center to be more.
Yeah,
viable.
that's a good,
Right.
yeah. So I would just like to say, I love all this feedback. It's great. I couldn't agree more with everything that you guys are saying. The time, I think, has something to do with it. So it was from 10 until 2. The reason we started
Plus
at
the
10
radio.
was because of the radio station who canceled. So I think
Right.
anything in Woodstock, especially if it's on a weekend, if you start before noon, no one's coming.
Forget
So
it.
I think,
100%.
Yeah.
I think the
So we
time,
did it from 12 to 4 or 1
or
to
even
4.
one, so then you want to think about kids, let them have lunch and then come, or
So then let's say afternoon instead.
probably, I think that might be a
Next
better,
I
and
agree.
if we're coordinating with another event in town, maybe at the library, or something that gets them out of bed and then.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of
Absolutely.
sense.
Mhm.
But, I just also say the point of Earth Day for me, I know it's been going on long before I joined. Because it was tables in the Sunflower parking lot, which was great. So it was
No,
about.
it wasn't great. It wasn't great. It was horrible.
All right, so, okay. So,
Yeah, tell us how you.
So, all right, so when I started getting
Unfiltered joy.
whatever was,
It was horrible.
so Earth Day is an event that when I started, it was about educating people. A lot of it was people didn't even know the WEC existed, but it's about educating them about the town and the earth, and it's also informational. So we've done that, but I think
And
I've done it
really
in
accomplished
a
that.
dry way. I think I've done
But
it
you
in
know,
a
you have
seminar.
not
That's
done it
amazing.
in a dry
I've
way.
done it
You
dry.
have not done
Presentations
anything
you've
wrong.
organized were really good. I mean, I enjoyed them. I mean, when we had
Yeah.
that thing about the stream flow thing and
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
sponge, that was really good.
Oh, that was really
That was
good.
really
great.
good.
That
And
was
then the
fun
Birds
to
of Prey,
talk
now I've seen it like 3
I know.
times, but I still like it.
And I-
But those things grab you.
The little-
And I was gonna
Otherwise-
say,
A
the
blind
Ontario kids were amazing.
They
I-
really,
they
really,
were.
really
And
were.
what was so cool was putting them next to the plastics group from
Yes.
That
from
was-
Woodstock.
That's right.
Because the 2 of them
I
are now
love that.
collaborating together.
Right.
They have all these plans to work together. That was one of the best things I've ever seen.
Yeah, I think
So
the
maybe you don't
Ontario
have
kids
to
were a real
completely redo
highlight.
it, just tweak it. I
Yeah.
mean, it's not terrible. It used to be terrible. It's now good. It's pretty good.
Yes, but I
But
think
we could even kick it up a notch. Like, these are
Yes.
great ideas. Let's go crazy with it.
Kristen is in the wedding. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
so.
Hooray for technology.
Wow,
So,
we
yeah,
could have
yeah.
Rex and Roman rip out the asbestos. in the youth center.
I mean, well, maybe something that would make sense for all of these things is every year we think of something that we're doing that year.
A theme.
You know, like we're doing composting, we're doing the natural resources
Right.
inventory,
Right,
and then
right.
branch off of that. So if it's
Right.
like we're
So it's the-
bringing
So we
energy
highlight the
efficiency to
latest.
the youth center, maybe it's like, yeah, get the kids down there and here's how you're,
A theme.
yeah, a theme. And then you can have
I
like
like
stuff for
that.
the adults where it's,
What's the
I would like to
latest
hear
and the
longer
greatest?
presentations.
This is
Yeah.
great. This is wonderful. This is great. So now we can do this 6 months from now.
Yep,
Okay, so can we move on to?
yeah.
No, I
Oh,
just
one other
want-
thing I just want to
Okay,
say,
go
sorry.
ahead.
One thing, I sent out that note afterwards about the Bennett kids doing their plastic recycling. Manna sent that out to the rest of the whole county.
Oh, wow.
No, and I talked to Kathy Nolan, who's the county representative from Shandaken, and she's gonna nominate the group for a Pride of Ulster County.
Oh,
Wonderful.
that's great.
I'll tell you, that was the first time, by the way, those 2 kids have ever spoken. They never have
That
spoken.
was
That
the
was-
cutest.
that
was
They
so
stood up at
cute.
the
That was
mic.
cute.
They were really good.
They were great.
That's, to me, that's what it's all about.
I want to say one thing and then I'm just gonna say attendance numbers, that's it. So I was like a little over 50 last year, and we're at 93 this year. So
Whoa.
it's
Wow.
definitely,
Nice.
no, 93 is over the whole day.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
Wow.
That's
You know
good.
that.
Counting the raffle tickets.
Oh.
And then also I was doing a head count throughout the like day.
Laura?
I just want to say, I thought it was wonderful. I thought it seemed perfect to me, but I'm not a kid. I hear what you're saying about the kids. But as an adult, I thought that the booths were wonderful. I learned something in every booth and the speakers. So I think between all the booths that you had and between all the speakers, I think it was a nice balance. And the speakers didn't go too long, actually, you know, because once
That was
everybody sat
great.
down for the speakers were good, and then when the speakers were done, so it wasn't overly lengthy for the speeches. So I thought it was a great combination. And the people that had the booths, I learned something at every booth, so.
Me too. I love that. I thought the layout of the room was excellent too.
You guys laugh, but I do like, I'm there Friday night and I like have my
No, it
math, I
was
take my
great.
drawings.
You did a phenomenal
No,
Yeah.
the
job.
layout was
Yeah.
amazing with the seats in the center.
And then Alex is like, your numbers are off, just redo them. This is math.
Okay, so.
So anyway,
Ashoka Watershed Stream Management Program. So we had two presentations. I think it opened up a lot of things that we could do with them in the future if we wanted to, about properties. But I'm going to let everybody speak.
Well, like, what'd you have in mind?
One, I think that we really could use them on site visits, and they'd be willing to come.
Mhm.
And I think that's incredibly important because they're free.
Right.
Yeah,
And they're scientists.
and they're smart, they know what they're doing, right?
They know
They're
what they're
not-
doing. And sometimes when we're out there and we're looking at wetlands, we're not even thinking about the streams and the flow and what happens in water
That's such a
situations.
great idea.
And they really do know
So
that stuff.
that is good.
They also know a lot about flooding. And I know that because I've worked with them on a lot of flooding issues. And this town may have a flooding plan. It may have a plan to what to do with drought, but maybe we should start looking into that a little bit more, because those are two things that are going to happen more, both. And I think that they could really help us out, put us in the right direction. And maybe get some funding even so that we could be prepared for if flooding closes up some of the roads, what do we do? If they cut off some of the people in their houses, what do we do?
The
Yeah.
flood,
Well,
a
we-
flood plan would also help with considering the wetlands and watercourse law.
Correct. It will
Because
absolutely-
it'll-
Well, if you don't have good wetlands, then you're gonna
Those are the
flood all over the
sponges.
place. They're sponges.
Yeah.
Well, if and when we do this Calmar Lane. site visit,
June.
It's in June. I mean, there's a stream
Yeah.
back there. We should
Right.
Perhaps bring them along for that.
They
Well-
took me on a site visit yesterday there and yeah, and I think it would be really helpful. I was thinking that I would have loved to have had someone, because they were saying, well, there's wetlands here, and I didn't look like any of the foliage that I've ever
Yeah, yeah.
recognized as wetlands, and I thought I need an expert now.
Yeah. That would be good. And I'm just gonna give an example of, also, we need to educate this community. I have a neighbor who has just recently done a tremendous amount of cutting in the wetland adjacent to them. It's actually their property, but it's like they're cutting down the wetland, they're taking out all, they want to clean it up, they want it to look nice and pretty like their lawn. You should not be doing that to a wetland. And they don't know because they're not educated. They come from New Jersey. I'm sorry.
I just heard that.
That's where we're.
Arlene's tires are gonna slash.
I never dreamed I would be insulted like that.
We're gonna have a sit down.
Executive
Executive
session. We're
session.
gonna have.
So
to-
anyway, but no, seriously.
Clearly
I'm
need a
just-
training program.
I'm laughing,
on New
but
Jersey.
they're into manicuring their lawn, and there's a lot of people here in Woodstock now where we've seen that are into the manicure, the fences. They're not understanding that those fences and what they're doing to their lawns, and it's not just pollinators, are going to affect us when we do have our floods.
Yeah, yeah.
And we could be in a lot of trouble next time, because a lot of people have done this without even going to the building department or getting permission to make changes, and it's going to be a disaster. So I think that
What
they
kind
should.
of changes? They're actually getting.
People are putting fences up all over the place where we'll stop a flow if they're in an area that floods during a 200-year flood or a 300-year flood. That is going to create a disaster, because then what
Oh,
happens is
sure.
all the debris piles up against that fence and you're screwed.
So it's
So-
not just the residents, it's also the people who are making those decisions.
Correct, and that's
understand.
education, and so we had a slight education here, but I could see them over the next year, maybe we should maybe have a couple sessions for the community.
Yeah.
Maybe not on our nights, but maybe just have a night. An environmental commission invites you to learn about the streams and what you should be doing on your properties,
I love
you
that.
know, something like that.
Maybe work with realtors to get new recent homeowner,
Perfect.
recent,
Right,
you know, realtors love stuff like that. I mean, they love engaging and stuff like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I put the pollinator pathway people. So one of the things they now are trying to do is they've sort of moved maybe along from just getting people to join it. And they're working on building habitat in places around town. And so I put them in touch with the Bobby Taylor
okay.
to see if anyone can take advantage of getting some of the native shrubs.
Oh, great.
Yeah, because they're free.
Oh, absolutely.
So it'll combine with their, you know, if people are on a stream and want to build habitat, they can get all the
All
free
that, yeah.
pollinator plantings.
Okay.
So, and that's just a few things, but we, again, this is just the first dip that we're doing, but these are ideas that we can, when we start doing our yearly plan or whatever we do, these are things that we've learned now
Love
from
that.
these meetings that we can start looking at too, besides the composting, which we, after reading all the stuff that's happening,
Oh, yeah.
which we'll get to. But anyway, that's done next.
Well, I'm on the Ashokan Watershed Flooding Mitigation Working Group.
Oh,
What?
Wow.
During the pandemic, but the last meeting was in March. And, you know, I gave a report for Woodstock about our efforts on flooding. Essentially, I said, you know, when the comprehensive plan was being developed, as climate smart, we went and recommended that we set up the climate smart and be set up to handle and evaluate hazardous weather conditions. Because at that time, Houston had just gotten a 30-inch rainstorm, and you know, a couple of letters and a couple of submissions said, what's Woodstock gonna do if we get a 30-inch rainstorm? Well, none of that got in the comprehensive plan, but it's still a valid, because Fort Lauderdale just got 26 inches in a couple of hours, and this is happening.
Well,
time
and we're
after
seeing
time after
hurricanes
time.
now, which we
Hey,
didn't see.
I saw what happened to Prattville.
And, you know, we don't know
Yeah.
what we would do if we got a 30-inch rainstorm.
Mhm.
So that's, I mean, that's one of the things like you've been talking about, what we do
Right.
with flooding.
And the same
other
goes
thing
on the opposite way too, with drought, because we can also go through a drought that can be unbelievable, which is what happened out west,
Right,
where all our aquifer dries up, you know.
Well,
It
then
can
the
happen.
flooding's
Yeah.
worse when it does flood.
Yeah, exactly. So
but the
these
other
are
thing I
things-
mentioned was that, you know, we did all these flood maps, but no one believes them.
I know.
You know, we talk about the 100-year flood, and we had those fabulous maps for the
See,
DOT.
How do you know that, Ken? Did they say, oh, well, that's silly, or that's not? Those
I
are-
think it's human
How do you
nature.
know they don't believe it?
Yeah.
Well, they say they don't believe them.
We
That'll never happen.
asked
Oh,
Adam when he did his presentation about that, because I remember
Yes.
you had said that, and in one of his suggestions was to have an unaffiliated
Yeah.
expert.
Like a neutral person presenting, because that way the public didn't feel like they were being told this by someone, there, it was a neutral,
I
yeah.
mean,
Worship and worship.
Yeah,
we did we tried to do the flood maps with Jerry Washington. He wouldn't do them because he wouldn't believe them.
Oh.
And Aaron Burnett, who was, you know,
I
worked
know.
for,
He works-
you
He now
know,
works
at
for
one of his
DEP.
presentations, at a major meeting, he quoted Jerry.
Oh,
You know, so he said, one of our major problems is people just don't believe the maps. Bill McKenna didn't believe the map when we, you know, when the DOT was showing it.
so
And-
when
and
you
the town
say,
hall is surrounded by
so when
water.
you say don't believe it, is it that they say, you're saying route, I'm just gonna say
They
Tinker
say this has
Street?
never happened, it's not gonna happen.
Oh, right.
But they do happen. So this is another thing that we now have been slightly educated.
Yeah.
We should start looking into this a little bit more.
But 100-year flood is nothing.
So maybe
All
for
right,
that, we
the
should
other-
simulate a catastrophic
After-
flooding event.
And then
And just
you
be
know, I
like,
talked to-
now you guys know.
Okay, well, after Ken.
I talked to them about what our experience with the watershed work we did for the natural resources inventory. You know, we did it based on what Tim had done and the others had done for the beaver kill and the little beaver kill. So we did the saw kill the same way, put together a single document with these 3 watersheds. Well, we submitted to Ingrid and she said, well, that's not right. We want to do things thematically. I mean, everything about wildlife over here and everything about the fisheries over here. And so all the documents were ripped apart and then you couldn't edit them. And then I submitted the document as part of our climate smart submission in October.
I'm
In
hearing
November, I said,
frustrated.
oh, this is all changed. You have to, we now have.
Oh, I remember that, yeah.
We now have a special document
Yeah.
for flooding and we have a special document for clean water. So you got to redo everything.
Hey,
And so we gave up on that. And then,
You gave
what
up.
happened is that we were gonna, the comprehensive plan outlined a partnership with the Land Conservancy to do work on the Sawkill. Well, all of a sudden, we're more interested in flooding and the Land Conservancy is teamed up with Riverkeeper. They want to do water quality
track
and
management.
the whole thing fell apart.
So what we have to do is, I mean, I'm making lists here for the different things, but these are all projects that we
Yeah.
could work on. And again, we'll think that we'll list, but it's good that we have these people here because it brings up things that should be done now, not a year from now. Because if we get,
That's another
inundated.
challenge with the town.
but you wanted to say.
Yeah, I
something.
just wanted to kind of chime in a little bit. I love what Alex said about getting kids out of buildings and onto the street and into the forest, so to speak. And I'm wondering if, based on what this gentleman was talking about, can the kid events be tied into education, like go into those flood zones and track it, right? So is there a way to measure it or do like something like that? And it's just for example, that's just, you know.
Well, one of the major flood zones is the center of town.
It is.
So.
I think the
okay.
match right there.
So there's-
The map is right there, Ken, that's on the map.
They wouldn't be
Can
able-
that be tracked?
They wouldn't be able to see a flood zone. You can't see it until it
Right, well,
floods.
Sawgreens has like by the beach, they're tracking the height of the water. Is
Um,
that the same, like some idea where the kids could?
What
plant
they
and
could
track?
do is they could get a really good wetlands education.
Okay.
Because
Yeah.
wetlands aren't always visible.
But what-
Sometimes
what
it's
you
just what's growing that you know that that's an intermittent wetland. Vernal pools, really important. But I mean, sometimes you won't get the right wildlife if you don't have vernal pools.
Yeah, so that might be
These are-
appealing to
But I
kids,
think
right?
in the new list, I think what you're talking about is what we call in school citizen scientists.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah,
Get
and
out.
that's a different, it's a very different way for children to get involved. I
Yes.
really love that
And it's beyond
idea.
Earth Day, right?
It's
really getting
beyond
kids
Earth
Like the
Day.
involved.
wildwood.
And kids are collecting data,
Yeah.
you know, even doing bird counts.
Exactly.
You know,
And- and
getting
they're
kids
helping- so you could,
Understanding
like,
the science.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Like, and it could be, it can go in a dozen different directions, right? Clean trails, but understand the plant life, the animal life,
Exactly.
et cetera, things like that. And then I wonder if for the adults or those interested, we could have also deeper education. So for instance, above groundwater versus underground water. And I'm personally very interested in how Kingston and Albany affect us. Chop down our trees and yank our water and things like that. So I don't know if that education is available, but I personally would be very interested because I don't want us to sink 10 or 15 feet, right? I mean, I have a vested interest in this. I'm already in a flood zone in Woodstock. So, but all kidding aside, those kinds of things as well.
The state does have a rigorous forestry program, but they're also pretty rigorous about how they do things.
I have I'm wondering if this would kind of be what you were talking about. So we all know when there's a bad rain, town floods, like the roads
Yeah.
and the businesses. What if like over a period of 12 months, the kids actually go out in town and actually measure and say it was,
home.
It
You
was,
see it.
right, or they, so from the center, from the Village Green, they say the water reached out to come out, you know, and then the next storm, they say, hey, the water reached to wherever, I don't know, I mean, that's a way to track it.
Track it through the streams. flowing,
And they-
taking the ground,
and
the erosion,
Yeah, and you have
etc.
like a few key spots where they have to go and check it.
Just make sure it's
So
not too
this,
close to the
this
stream.
brings up the question of school partnerships.
Yes.
Because, I mean, you can't do this without their teachers, because they're not gonna wanna do it on the weekends.
It sounds
But
like
they're
you all
already
went to
doing
the
stuff.
schools.
They're doing it.
Because they're
Yeah.
doing it with the Shokin streams already, because they do trout unlimited. I mean, with the trout, they actually,
Woodstock Day School is doing a
they
lot
pull
of this
trout out of
too.
the stream and they measure the trout and they learn all about them. And they bring some back to the classroom to study, then they put them back in.
Vegan, but that's fine.
Yeah, don't they do that eel count also?
I don't know if they do the EL.
Wait, then they put
Yeah.
them back in after they're
I
studying.
know, dude, I hope they
So
put
they're
them
good.
back in the water.
They're not dead, they're in water.
Oh, they're in water.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, they're in water.
I'm thinking the
They're alive,
autopsy.
they don't kill them, they're alive.
So the reason why I didn't volunteer to be a secretary yet is because I don't know which piece, like, are all these things in the minutes that we're talking about right now?
No, but what we can do is, like the last time when I talked, when Bob gave me the minutes and I said I had to add a few things, I
Yeah.
added those few
So just
sentences
highlights.
to highlight. And then I always have these notes, and Julia has amazing notes, which is,
I mean, Julia's
So-
notes.
my strong suggestion is everybody gets a little notebook like this and, or, you know.
So what I would say, I mean, not to burst anyone's bubble, number one, any sort of education program that we've ever wanted to do has been very difficult because the town board won't give us any money.
That's true.
So that makes it incredibly hard to do anything that involves public outreach, because you do need
You need a lot of money.
money
this.
for that. Second of all, I would say that I would think I mean, the school systems do a lot of this already. And
They
so
do.
like, there's not really any need to I mean, I don't want to spend a year telling kids about streams. I'd rather die, you know? But someone does want to do that, and they are professionals at doing that, and they already do it. So it seems that perhaps what our role in those types of things could be is maybe going to where they already have programs and bolstering them in some way with like what we're doing, instead of trying to bring the programs to us, because
Unless it's,
we
don't bring it-
already,
Right, but we don't bring a program, we can do it in one session.
So
one
so
day.
there's
But I
just-
think we want to work with people who are
Right.
teachers and who are
Right.
doing
So
it
yeah.
already.
I'm hearing two really
There's probably
good
insurance
ideas.
involved, background checks involved. I mean, to have a bunch of
general-
kids that are under our care.
Be a teacher would have to be there.
I mean,
Yeah.
you were speaking.
Yeah, but you
about the
can't just like
education
hang around
program.
kids.
That, how do we, like, because I haven't been here for more than, this is my second meeting, I think. So how do we capture that? Because that's a really important role that we
Cornell
play.
Cooperative does a lot of education, and they will work with us, and this is the other issue that I was really happy to hear about. I put it in the minutes because it's the Ashokan Watershed Stream Management Program, but they work with Cornell Cooperative
Right.
and
Graham.
and Ashokan Streams, both who will work with you. Well, Ashokan Streams really can't work with you, but Cornell Cooperative can work outside of the watershed.
Right.
And Ulster County can work with you out of the watershed.
Mhm.
So we can cover the whole town with those three. And Cornell Cooperative has an amazing amount of educational programs
Yes.
for youth,
Yeah,
for teenagers, for college students, for us. So this is us trying to just utilize, you've been to a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
I've been to a lot of this stuff. It's time that we started getting others. It's this
So you
room,
see
we're
our-
interested.
Well,
We have
even
to
the-
spread the wealth.
Even the watershed program in Matt Sadachi. I mean, he's the education guy for school kids in the
Right.
watershed. And you could,
Wait, he teaches at their school. He does a whole water thing at the
Yeah.
elementary school.
He doesn't in all the
Yeah.
schools.
He's like the librarian's husband or something.
So this is the kind of
So
thing
what
I'm
is
talking
that?
about.
Yeah.
So what
True.
I'm-
I'll
what
ask
I
my
meant is
wife
how do
about
we
the,
capture-
Yeah, Mrs.
Because
Savachi.
Yeah.
We're not doing our.
but you know, you can get him
Right
to
now,
run
so how do we
programs,
make
even
sure
if it's
that
in the
we do
watershed, I
that
mean, they have
interest?
streams there and all the kids over.
Okay, so,
Maybe
His
that
thing was
won't
really
conversation.
cool.
okay, so, okay, let's go around. So we're gonna talk about two more things. After we do this, I think what's gonna happen is we will have another meeting where we're gonna fine tune, what are we gonna do this next year? Because right now, the compost had been put on hold, which we thought we're gonna run gangbusters
Oh, it's
with.
on hold?
What happened?
Well, I mean, we didn't get the
We didn't get the
funding.
grant.
We didn't get the funding.
But there's
Money.
money, there's 16,000, right?
Well, I forget whether it's 6 or 8, but anyway, but getting back to not getting the grant, I did have a couple questions about that. So I know you said you didn't need the town boards involved, but some grants, sometimes it's easier to get a grant when the town board, when you have a letter of support from the town board. And I don't recall you getting a letter from the town board.
We
You
did.
You did.
Oh, you did get a letter from the town board, okay.
Yeah.
So did they give you any reason for not?
I think it
no,
just didn't make it this time.
I mean, I think part of the issue, based on what I saw other towns and other places who did get the money, and so I'm speculating, but I talked to one of the guys, and one of the problems that we do have here is that we did have the letter, which was great, but there isn't any support from the town. So the other towns that were getting things, they were either putting money in, or they were putting in
Matching.
resources
Yeah.
in some way, or they were like allowing
Yeah.
something to be built
They want
in,
to see that
in
it's
the
a program
thing.
that can be
And
sustained.
so our application was really like us kind of being like, we really want to do this, here it is. And I think it was a really strong application, but without buy-in from the rest of the town, it's very difficult for someone to want to give you funding, especially large amounts of funding, when they don't know where it's going to lead to. So if they don't know that it's going to go from being a pilot to being
Right.
something that's
So the
adopted,
example
things
is,
like that.
okay, we did the heat pump and basically Dermot and Eric ran around like banshees and got all, probably 25 of the 30 letters came from those two men. Okay, and they
I
were,
also hooked them up with the Ontario School Board, Emily Sharing. They got
right,
they were
and
going
that,
crazy.
when the state gave us the funding, they clearly stated, and I said, they had never seen that many letters of support from a town. Okay,
So that makes.
And that's how we got the funding,
Yeah, yeah.
okay?
And we were on foot, because Arlene and I were with, we always did a group, we knocked on doors, we knocked on house. So we knocked on a lot of doors to explain the program. So we actually helped some of those letters, but, and then some of them, I know I got a couple of them, but you're right. But the 30 letters was a huge amount. But I guess, I would love to see the composting get resurrected. Because as Julia alludes to, yes, there is that bucket of money, is it 6,000, 8,000, I forget exactly how much is in there. But, and spread across all the committees, but nobody has come to use it. The thing about the chunk of money was, committees need to, like, say you say, hey, I need money to do a flyer. Well, okay, the money's sitting over there, come bring us the flyer you created, and then maybe we, then maybe.
Laura, I don't know if this is the time you want to start trying to get into the issue of the slush fund in the town budget.
Well, but
I think that might not be like a
But
great
it's
topic
it's a
to get into
reality.
right
The
now.
reality is, the money is there. The reality is, I encourage, and I've encouraged the WC in previous meetings to do the legwork and say, okay, now we have the plan in place. We want to do this, this, and this. Now we're asking for a slice of the money. And because no committee has come and been ready to use the money.
But
I think
so
we should,
can
I think we should
I'm just-
table this.
I'm gonna table that because it would have been really nice, to quite honestly, when we were working our, excuse my words, asses off, trying to get this done, that, and everybody saw it, because we did present to the town, that it would have been nice for them to say, great, we're gonna help you out.
Yeah, I mean, you're making it sound like we're just not doing what we need to do to get the money, not filling out the forms, and that's
And
not the situation. We all
sometimes
know,
it's-
everyone in this room knows that's not the situation, so let's not.
Yeah.
And I
sugarcoat it.
actually
That's-
believe what
that's
you
not-
had said about the money at that time was that you wouldn't want to see money go to something that didn't go to everybody.
Yeah,
I didn't,
So there's a lot more to the money issue, I think, than us just not asking
Let's table
for
it,
it.
let's table it.
Let's
I think
table
we
it
really
on.
need to
No,
move
it's-
on.
Yeah,
Let's move
Let's just move
on.
on.
But there's an issue.
No, I think
No,
everyone is
we're
in agreement that we'll be moving on.
Well,
Thank you.
Laura,
Thanks,
as a member of
Laura.
the audience, you don't get to interrupt the board.
okay.
Okay.
Please behave.
Hot F, the revised code. I've been away and I have not looked at it, but
I have
they,
not
they
either.
need to, we need to do this. We need to look at the revised code. Because we did
Has anyone
spend,
seen it?
I didn't
Yeah,
look at
I didn't look at the code, but I thought, how do you get your arms around what's happened? And there are the documents that you pointed us to.
Yeah,
And so I can leave you with one set that I thought was a way
it's
of
all on
thinking.
the, it's all on the
It's all
town
there, but
website, and there's that
three
short
pages
thing.
that is their summary that they would say, hey, public, this is what we're doing. So that's a way to begin to think about it. The
Okay,
other
yeah.
is
That one
the
from-
summary report, okay? So look at that. I
Oh,
think
yeah.
that'll help.
So this just came out,
Yeah.
April 20.
Yeah, it's just out, right?
Okay, if I
Or,
can-
yeah, you tell us.
If I'm allowed to speak,
Sure,
I'll tell
please.
you a lot of stuff about it. Arlene, if you'd like me to give some briefing on that, I'd be happy to do that.
well, what I really like, because we did look at it. And we did know that there are changes that we asked for. So I think, and we were at the meeting when they
Mhm.
presented to the town board. This last meeting, and we heard them do the presentation. What I'd really like to do now is just kind of
I need to dig in.
Yeah, look
Yeah, I need to
into it.
look
So
into
just
just
look
so
into it and make sure that it might be perfectly
Okay, but there's
beautiful.
more presentations
on
I tell you about if you
Tuesday
wanna
is
hear-
when
There are
they
future
are,
presentations planned. If you want to hear about it, I'll tell you. If you don't want to hear about
No,
it.
I remember them saying there's gonna be more presentations, but I want to get this done before Tuesday. Because I think we owe that to the committee, because they've done all this work. So we should get, if we're gonna give them input, we should be diligent
Mhm.
in our response.
Yeah,
Do you agree?
I agree as well.
Do what we did last time. and run
Yeah.
paper session.
Yeah, so how about if we try to do it by Friday?
Yeah, I can do it.
Okay.
If you have none, you have none.
And my
then-
understanding too is that some of the members of the zoning revision committee also had some concerns that they were gonna be writing to us about.
Oh.
Because they thought they mirrored some of the things we had written about in our past letter.
Oh, good.
So I
Great.
don't know. I haven't received anything from them, but
So they're gonna submit it to us.
no, they were gonna, I think they were like, oh, we saw your letter and we had some of the same concerns, like, we'll tell you what our concerns were, but we haven't read any, I mean, I haven't
Okay.
read all of the stuff yet, but
Or
I have that letter.
you do.
Yes.
the letter that is to us, you possess.
I have the letter, the ZRC, 3 ZRC members wrote a letter to the town board. I have that letter.
Oh, okay. My understanding was that they wanted to say something to us, which I don't know what that will be. And I don't
what
know
they
if
say to you
it's-
either, but I know what they said to the town.
Okay.
Okay, so any comments? Send them on and we'll try to consolidate in the letter. over
By
the
Friday?
weekend. By Friday, Saturday, and by Sunday, I'll get my act together, write something up and have it by Monday. How's that sound?
Okay.
I should have time this weekend.
And you don't want me to tell you when the presentations are going to be.
I don't think
Deborah
the meetings
Juwan
are-
asked us to go to the town board meeting on Tuesday.
What you think?
Deborah Juwan asked us to go to the town
Okay.
board meeting on Tuesday, the 9th.
Okay, and there will be a community Q&A scheduled for May 30th. I think the time will be 6:30 to 8:30, but if you would like, I'll let you know when that gets confirmed. Because that will be more of a 2-hour session where they'll have like a whole hour worth of presentations. And then they'll have an hour worth of breakout, part of the hour's breakout, and then the breakout sessions come all together in the big room. So they do plan in the community center to have more of a deep dive.
Okay, great. And Deborah's been really kind of keeping in touch with us too, which has been really good too.
Excellent.
Composting, which I never thought I'd be passionate about, but I am now. Thanks to you, actually.
Guys,
Tired.
I heard that Ulster County has a hard
Unbelievable.
time getting clean topsoil. And what I thought was one way of making really good quality clean topsoil is to support composting efforts in the area and that we could be part of that. And Bob was very enthusiastic about bringing composting back.
This is happening.
Maybe he
Got
wasn't.
rotten food.
So I have a contact at the Department of the Environment. Someone gave me her information and
Ulster
said,
County.
yeah, the Ulster County Department of the Environment. I forgot what her name is off the top of my head.
Eddie?
No.
Melinda Herzog.
No,
No.
it wasn't a name I had heard of before. It wasn't someone I knew there. So maybe it's someone new. And that she had heard about what we were trying to do here and knew some of the difficulties and the issues that we were having and really wanted to help out. And that there was some money. And I said, do they have the money or are they just going to give us a link to like a DEC grant where like we need to find half of the money? And it was unclear what the true answer to that is, but I haven't had a chance to talk to her, but I'm going to call her next week.
So what's our next step with the compost?
And see, we need to find money.
It wasn't Europa, was it?
No, it was someone I had never heard of
If somebody
before.
knew that replaced, what's her name, that's now working with, Mexico.
And like she, I guess, was
Amanda?
like, oh yeah, we would love to help you. And I was like, anytime we've gotten help in the past, it hasn't been like financial help. But she seemed to maybe
So the
claim that
next
there's
step
some
is
money.
to look for money that's out there.
We need to find money, yeah.
So when it comes to the
Michelle
grant
Gluck.
for
Oh,
composting,
Michelle.
Michelle
Gluck.
Gluck.
Oh, okay.
if the grant is partially
I
denied
think she was
because
with,
they didn't see enough participation from our community, is there anything we could do now that would show that it could be sustained?
So I think so in Rhinebeck, they got like $100,000 for their composting plan, but it's also because the town is building a facility.
Yes.
So like the
She does the
town
EMC
It's not like
itself,
we can just like.
She does the EMC meeting.
the
Yeah.
town itself is saying like, we're fully committed
Got
to
it.
doing this.
Okay.
And they're gonna
That's
put
what we're
in
talking about.
another
Financial
$100,000.
infrastructure support.
and then, yeah.
Got
And
it.
so what our plan was not that big.
No, I
It was,
understand.
and I think we can send it to you because I know you haven't seen it.
Because
Yeah.
what we also knew was the eastern part of Woodstock utilizes Saugerties a lot. It's the middle and western part of Woodstock that really pretty much suffers with the no composting.
Mhm.
Because a lot of people can't do it in their backyards for whatever reason. And even those that do it in their backyard might need some help.
I had to put double fencing.
And one of the things that we asked for, like about 50% of the money that we were asking for was to subsidize the cost for people who were in like the lower income
Right.
levels, like, you know, below the median income level, and who were located specifically, there's 2 areas of town that are environmental justice areas. And so if you can like allocate particular resources into those areas, you can actually like help.
We, like 200 families we wanted, right?
Yeah, so it was gonna be like
Yeah.
200 people who would have gotten it at no cost, and then
Mhm.
50 people who had gotten it at half cost, you know,
I
and so a
see.
lot of the money was
It's much more
just
complicated.
going towards paying
Trying to
for
be fair.
people.
Yeah, yeah, no.
So Alex,
Um,
you're gonna take the lead on this again.
I'll reach out to Michelle. I know that you have mentioned that you have some free time recently, if you wanted to.
Okay, what she's getting at is I was laid off my job, so I got nothing but time.
Get to anything. I could have had like a week off. But if everyone or anyone who wants to help, or just Bob, you know, sometimes finding the money sources can be like the
Yeah,
biggest lift.
Yeah.
And so we have a lot of the plan. It's just like, we need the money.
Got it.
So Alex takes the lead with Bob.
That
as
is hand
helper.
raised.
And you're gonna send me the plan, so I can know what you're talking about?
Yeah, and
Great.
you know, it's probably not set in stone going forward, but that's what we submitted as our
That's
application.
pretty cool.
Is it possible to, might there be another grant to apply to to apply for.
Of course, yeah, sure.
That's what we're gonna do.
That's what we're gonna do, that's what we're gonna look for,
And,
that's what this is
I
about.
would, and if there's anything that I know the feedback you all just gave me, but I do want to help. And if there is something that I can do to help pave the way with the town board or to help explain, because composting, I would personally love to see composting take off. So if there's a flaw in, like you say, the town board didn't really embrace it, I'd like to work on that. I'd like to, if there's a way to say, you know, can I help sell it, for example? So anyway, if there's something I can do to help, do let me know, because I think composting is a wonderful idea. And we can hopefully learn from not getting the grant before and figure out what are the, because as like Arlene was saying, we had all this stuff that happened that made the grant possible that we got for the thermal. And maybe we can just learn from, yeah.
Got it, okay, makes sense. And you want to say
How much
something?
money did you need?
We asked for $30,000.
And it can come from anywhere?
So, I mean, for sure, like if you. We've just been waiting for someone to ask.
Is that why you're here?
If they knew about this
So-
and they start to contribute, they might.
Well,
They would,
so
for sure.
here's the thing.
Okay.
The program that we were looking at, or that we had kind of the plan we had come up with, it's not free. So people would be contributing by spending the money to do it in a lot of ways. And what the
Like there's a monthly
$30,000
fee.
dollars
partake.
covered was, you know, like setup costs, things that the town would have to pay for, like the first things, money for setting up a website, advertising, and then paying for
The pickup.
paying for people who, the pickup, and then these subsidies.
Okay,
So there are a lot of funding opportunities that exist. A lot of them, like DEC offers like a materials management grant, but it requires a 50% matching funds from the municipality. So if we're like, we need $30,000, they'll be like, we'll give you 15, but you guys have to kick in 50.
Right.
So we had originally asked for $1,000 about 2 years ago or 3 years ago to begin just this very small
And you
composting
didn't get
pilot, and the town board wouldn't give it to us. So I think a $15,000 or $30,000 ask is probably even
So-
more than that, but there are funding opportunities. The grant we applied for had no matching requirement. It was just like you could get the money, but I do think they want to see that there's buy-in from whoever you're representing. But they didn't have a matching one. They said they're going to do it again sometime in the future. So
They're at least annual.
it may come up again. It was like the Hudson Valley, what are those people called? They have the socials.
I don't know, Hudson Valley,
Yeah, didn't you guys all go to one of their events one night when I wasn't here? It was like a mixer.
Oh, we're not allowed to talk about it.
everyone
quite
said they
fully.
went. I think I'm the only one that went.
Yeah, Partners for
You're
Climate
in
Action. Partners for Climate Action. That was it.
Right. They're on my
So,
mailing list,
just because you
Thank you.
really haven't been here, what's cool about this composting is they have drop-off sites where they will pick it up and you put a little code in, you can put your stuff in when you've paid for your monthly
Service.
service.
That's awful.
Thank you. But it takes meat, it takes fish, it takes things that you can't compost in your
Yeah.
backyard. And that's the cool part. So you basically can take all your food and compost it. And it
And-
will go to, it goes to the facility, they do what they
That's
do,
the
and then it will go
process.
to a farm in New York State.
And they have
And some of it they sell. Some of the
They
soil
sell,
they
yeah.
sell, yeah. You can buy Hudson soil.
And they have experience with what we thought one of our biggest challenges would be like the people who are weekenders or not here all the time, but they actually currently deal with that and have a system for it. And we were like, oh my gosh. So, and the Bears, they're like, we got it. Like they've got a really good system.
And they pick up, they're the people the Saugerties Transfer Station partners with. So they're already in the area doing local collection.
We're good.
Right
So
here,
it'll be a
we know
complete-
them.
Yeah.
And the Farm Fest was gonna also participate.
They
They
did
had,
1 year, I thought.
Well, they were gonna sign on to what.
Oh, what we were
doing
gonna
if we
do.
got- And then Opera was gonna participate with providing us some of the like tumblers if people want to come. There was a whole at-home component as well. So it involved like, it was multifaceted. So yeah, if you hear of any money available, I mean, we didn't really try to go with private funding just because it gets complicated, because then you have someone whose personal opinion is like involved in town government issues and stuff like that.
Would it help us to get a grant if we did a pilot program?
Well, this was
That's what
for
this
a
was.
private
Yeah,
pilot,
This was a
pilot
pilot
program.
program.
Right,
We were gonna
right.
start with the 200 and then we we're gonna say if it's successful and we had a
We
whole.
can scale up. Yeah,
Right.
we'll send you the, I'll send you the
Okay, great.
Then
thanks.
we were gonna go on.
thing. And actually
Full
Julia
blown.
came up with like an amazing survey to send out ahead of
Exactly.
time to like gauge interest, and then a follow-up survey to
Oh,
see like
yes,
what
we can
worked.
do
and-
this.
Yeah,
It was really good.
And we had a little website.
yeah,
Dear Chris.
yeah.
Right, Chris,
Chris
uh,
started a website. Yeah.
Thanks, Chris.
We're like ready to press go at any time. We just need the
Oh,
money.
great, okay.
Yeah.
And 30,000 was the pilot program.
30,000 was the pilot. I think that about 15 of it, or even maybe a little more, was just for subsidies for
Makes
people
sense.
to be able to participate.
Oh, I see.
We felt like it wouldn't be a comprehensive plan if people were excluded from being able to participate for financial reasons.
Thanks for the background.
Yeah,
And we can send it to you. I mean, if you're interested
I
in
am.
taking a look at the plan of the plan.
I am.
Plan of the plan.
You may have it.
it's cool. It's really cool. Okay, anything else that we have to cover today?
Nope. No.
It is 8:06.
Wow, early one.
Wow.
Call this meeting over.
So Arlene, when you do that housing oversight, the zoning updates is the idea you'll send stuff to, you know, the idea to send stuff to?